Dear viewers, welcome to Noorsat Satellite Station in Telelumiere TV. Noorsat Office Jordan in Palestine, represented by its Regional Director, Dr. Basim Al-Sam'an and the team, is pleased to extend their warm wishes and love to all Christian families on the occasion of the glorious Easter, praying it would return on everyone with health and happiness, and may peace prevail all over the world. Let's start with the headlines. His Majesty the King stresses the continuation of protecting the Islamic and Christian holy sites in Jerusalem. The Prime Minister and senior official congratulate Christians on Easter. In an atmosphere of joy and happiness, the churches of the kingdom celebrate the day of resurrection. Amman receives the flame of the holy light to be transmitted to the world. We also have priests of the Latin Patriarchate in Jordan renew their priesthood vows. Welcome back. Within the framework of his weekly Christian teachings, and as he habitually does every week, His Holiness Pope Francis welcomed the believers coming from all over the world, where His Holiness contemplated and said,
Most Holy Father, the English-speaking visitors and pilgrims present today wish to express to you their sentiments of respect and esteem, and to assure you of their prayers for your ministry as the successor of St. Peter. At the end of the audience, we will sing together the Our Father in Latin. The Holy Father will then impart his apostolic blessing, which he willingly extends to all children and young people, the elderly and the sick. His Holiness also intends to bless any religious articles you may have brought for this purpose. The following is a summary of the Holy Father's words this morning. Dear brothers and sisters, in our continuing catechesis on the meaning and value of old age, in the light of God's Word, we now reflect on the figure of the widow Naomi as presented in the biblical book of Ruth. This short yet beautiful story speaks of the relationship of love and mutual support between the elderly Naomi and her daughter-in-law Ruth. Naomi, dwelling in a foreign land, is left alone when her two sons die. Despite her grief, she encourages her two daughters-in-law to remain among their own people as she returns to Bethlehem, her native town. Ruth chooses not to abandon her beloved mother-in-law and accompanies her to Judah, telling her, "Your people shall be my people, and your God my God." Ruth's love supports Naomi. A Naomi in turn helps Ruth to find a new husband, Boaz. God blesses this marriage with a son, Obed, who was the father of Jesse, the father of David. The story of these two faithful women shows us that in God's providential plan, the covenant of love and fidelity uniting the generations can prove immensely enriching for our families and for the growth of a society that respects the dignity and gifts of each of its members, however young or old.
His Majesty King Abdullah II affirmed his support for the steadfastness of Jerusalemites and their preservation of the identity of the Holy City and its Islamic and Christian sanctities, and Jordan's continuation as well as the historical and religious responsibility in protecting and defending these holy sites, and for the rights of Muslims and Christians to practice their sacred religious rites in their places. During an iftar banquet for representatives of endowments, churches, and the people of Jerusalem, in the presence of His Royal Highness Crown Prince Al-Hussein bin Abdullah II, His Majesty stressed the need to work to prevent the reoccurrence of the attacks on Islamic and Christian holy sites and the people. His Majesty also congratulated Christians on the glorious Easter holiday. His Beatitude Theophilus III, Patriarch of the Holy City, expressed his gratitude for the Hashemite guardianship and for His Majesty the King's tireless efforts to continue protecting the rights of Christians to worship freely in the holy places in Jerusalem. His Beatitude Pier Battista Pizzabella, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, indicated that His Majesty, the Commissioner for Church Affairs, Dr. Ramzi Khouri, honored what His Majesty the King holds and does in defending Islamic and Christian holy sites, especially the Aqsa Mosque and the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which enjoys the Hashemite guardianship and care. The Prime Minister, Dr. Bishar al-Khasawni, accompanied by a number of ministers, visited the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese in Amman and congratulated the Christians on the occasion of the glorious Easter. He stressed during the visit that in Jordan we live the values of true harmony and brotherhood that binds us all, Muslims and Christians. Al-Khasawni explained that Jordan stands firm before any attempts to change the historical and legal status of the Islamic and Christian holy sites in Jerusalem, indicating that work is underway to spread an atmosphere of calm in a way that guarantees and preserves the general situation in Jerusalem and its sanctities. The meeting was attended by a number of bishops and representatives of the Council of Heads of Churches in Jordan. The Speaker of the Senate, Faisal al-Faiz, also congratulated the Christians in the kingdom on the occasion of the glorious Easter holiday and said, "We in Jordan, under the leadership of His Majesty King Abdullah II, will remain one family. We are united by the same destiny and one goal to remain an example before the world of harmony and coexistence." Christians in the kingdom exchanged congratulations on the advent of the glorious Easter. On this occasion, many distinguished spiritual evenings were held in the Jordanian churches as prayers, requests, and spiritual invocations were held on the glorious occasion, in the presence of the priests and the crowd of believers. The churches of Fuhais revived the Holy Good Friday with the participation of the appointed Latin Archbishop of Jordan, Father Jamal Khadr, and a number of priests, through reviving the path of the cross and the descending of the crucified in a distinguished ecclesiastical rank. Archbishop Khadr gave a spiritual speech on the meaning of the cross and the path of suffering towards resurrection. At the end of the service, the churches shared the mixture of hymns between the Western and the Byzantine rites, in memorable chants that made the worshippers go into an atmosphere of preparation for the rite of Christ's funeral. The Church of Jesus the King of Latin in Al-Musdar also revived the Holy Thursday Mass and the ritual washing of feet, where the Mass was presided over by Father Marwan Hassan, pastor of the church, with the assistance of Father Wajd Itwal, the assistant priest, and deacons, and the presence of crowd of believers. After the sermon of the Mass, Father Hassan washed the feet of 12 disciples of the Lord's Church on the Holy Thursday. The Jordanian churches that follow the Eastern calendar received the flame of the holy light that overflowed on Holy Saturday from the tomb of Christ in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, as the flame was received from King Hussein Bridge and transferred to the Church of the Ascension in Khalda for distribution to the churches of the kingdom and the world. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs condemned the Israeli occupation authorities restricting Christians' access to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem and reducing the number of celebrants of the Holy Saturday. The Patriarchate said in a statement, the police deprived thousands of Christians of their natural right to practice worship freely through the military barriers that it deployed at the gates of the Old Town, leading to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. The Patriarch considered limiting the number of worshippers in the church and its surrounding is not acceptable. The priests of the Latin Patriarchate in Jordan renewed their priesthood vows during the Divine Liturgy, which was presided over by Bishop Jamal Khadr in the Church of the Virgin of Nazareth in Sofia. In the sermon of the Mass, His Eminence spoke about Thursday and the mysteries and said, "It is a holy occasion to renew our priestly promises, as the centerpiece of the celebration of the Mass is a sacrament of the Eucharist." Bishop Khadr pointed out that Christ made a covenant that the prophets had foretold, and that humanity had waited for a long time to include all the people and to become the sons of God. The Arab Ministerial Committee in charge of international action to confront illegal Israeli policies and measures in the city of Jerusalem emphasized the role of the historical Hashemite guardianship undertaken by His Majesty King Abdullah II in protecting Islamic and Christian holy sites in Jerusalem, and the historical and legal situation existing in the city. The committee that held its meeting in Amman demanded the necessity of removing all obstacles that restrict freedom of worshippers in the Islamic and Christian holy sites in Jerusalem. The 24th of this month coincides with the anniversary of the passage of 107 years since the massacre and forced displacement of the Armenian people in their homeland at the hands of the Ottoman authority during the First World War. About 1.5 million people were martyred because of it, where the Ottoman army forced the Armenians after the massacre and other Christians to forcibly leave their homes and homelands and walk hundreds of miles while leaving their towns and villages, while being deprived of food and water. Here, dear viewers, we have come to the end of our news, and those were the headlines. His Majesty the King stresses the continuation of protecting the Islamic and Christian holy sites in Jerusalem. The Prime Minister and senior officials congratulate Christians on Easter. In an atmosphere of joy and happiness, the churches of the kingdom celebrate the day of resurrection. Amman receives the flame of the holy light to be transmitted to the world. Priests of the Latin Patriarchate in Jordan renew their priesthood vows. For more information, please visit our website www.noorsatjo.org. Thank you for watching. Until we meet again, have a good day.